You're listening to Unmuted with Papa Mutes. You're listening to Unmuted with Papa Mutes.
All right, I'm thrilled to welcome to the podcast today Maya Workowski. Maya is a poet, a writer, a lot of things. That's why I have her on to talk. Maya, welcome to Papa Mutes.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
So let's get right to it. What sparked your interest in poetry?
I would have to say I actually remember it really specifically. So in 8th grade, I had a great English teacher. She was just very invested in allowing us to read a bunch of different things and be exposed to a lot of different authors. And so one of the units that we had was on spoken word poetry. And previous to that, I had been interested in writing, but when I was able to experience the magic of seeing someone perform a poem in this very specific way and all the ritual that's involved with that, it was just a really special moment for me because I was able to really see how intentional poetry is and how much intention and thought goes into creating a poem, and then all of the different ways that you can execute that. So being able to see something like that in a classroom was just amazing for me. I remember the first one that I watched was it's called B by Sarah Kay, and we watched this TED Talk that she does where she performs B before she starts speaking, about poetry and whatnot. So when I saw her perform it, it just sent chills like through my entire body. I was just so taken with everything about it. And so then after that class, I went home and I remember just sitting in my room on my little iPod Touch, like looking at all of the spoken word poems on YouTube that I could. And I ended up watching a lot of poems from Button Poetry, this other poet named Phil Kay, Olivia Gatwood, a lot of people that ended up inspiring my book.
Now, the book you speak of, is it QUIVER?
Yes.
So what is the significance of the woman's hand on the cover? It's a great shot, so I'm curious.
I think it really speaks to me because I actually have a tattoo of these two hands. It's kind of like the creation of Adam position, and where there's one hand and they're like almost touching. And I got that tattoo because I read this other book of poems from Natalie Diaz when I was in college called The Hand Has 27 Bones, These Hands If Not God's. And that really radically shifted the way that I saw bodies. I feel like it made me see bodies as some really divine force, something that's beautiful. And not that I didn't see bodies as beautiful before.
Right.
It's just that the way that Natalie was speaking about hands in particular was very moving to me. And the way that she really personified them, and instead of making or positioning the human mind as the driving force for our experience through the world, the way that Natalie positioned hands throughout her poems in that collection was as if hands are the driving factor behind how we experience the world. And she just really emphasized their importance, especially with touch and all of the things that they let us do. And so honestly, the cover of my book is kind of like an homage to that because it was a big part of me and my life philosophy, clearly, because I got a tattoo symbolizing it. And I wanted to kind of riff on that with my book and enter a conversation around the divinity of human bodies.
Awesome. Now, do you feel that song lyrics are a form of poetry?
I definitely see it that way. And it's funny because I feel like over the years that I've been writing poetry, sometimes I look at it and I think, this could be a song. And
Hmm.
there are certain lyricists who are musicians that I'm like, this person is a poet just because of the way that they write their lyrics and just how creative they are lyrically. It's like, it makes you really see the connection between poetry and music. Like, I think that Taylor Swift is 100% a poet. Like,
Hmm.
I look at her lyrics, especially on Evermore and Folklore, and it's just amazing the way that she articulates experiences. So, I feel a definite connection between poetry and songwriting.
Now, do you think a writing degree is necessary for being taken seriously as a poet?
Um, this is actually something that I've thought about a lot. I don't think that a writing degree is necessary at all for becoming a successful writer. It just depends on what your personal preference is. And that's one of the things that I love about writing is that it's so it's anyone can do it. It's so accessible. Creative writing is a skill and anyone can do it. You definitely don't need to have a degree in it. You just have to practice a lot. And that's why getting a degree was beneficial to me
Hmm.
in creative writing because it allowed me to practice every single day
Hmm.
and get workshopped from, my peers all the time and professors who are very distinguished in the field. And it's just that opportunity I knew I wasn't going to get again. So I just decided for me in my path that getting a degree in creative writing would be the best. And I know that some people don't necessarily need to get a degree, but to be great at it, it's just that for me and where I was, I definitely felt like this is something that I want to pursue and I want to learn from people who have been doing it for way longer than I have.
Now, when you
Uh,
first started writing poems, no schooling, you're just like, I really like this. Do you look back now and say, "Oh my God, those poems sucked"? You know what I mean?
It's
I
it's
mean,
funny. I feel like I do. I feel like I
like,
do,
oh my God, what the hell
but
was that?
I feel like I do, but also I don't know. I feel like it's endearing too because you
Sure,
have
it's a
to
start.
try.
It's the seed,
Y-
right?
Yeah, like you have to try so many times before you get good at anything.
Exactly.
It's just that with poetry, it's especially quote unquote cringy because like poems are so full of emotion
Hmm.
and full of experience that it's after you've kind of moved on emotionally from it, it's a little hard to look back and be like, I was so bent out of shape about this and like read your old work about it. But it's funny because recently I've been looking back at some of my old poems from like 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm like, that wasn't too bad. I would still write that today and like be proud of that.
Cool.
So I feel like
Cool.
there's progress.
Awesome. Now you have spoken